Alphino looks like he has news for us. I almost dread to ask. The far edge of fate. Alphino has the look of a man with much to say. Words can ill express how glad I am to see you all unharmed. When Omega came hurtling towards the cocoon, everything dissolved into chaos. I have to see it. I have to see it with my own eyes. Yida, wait! We must first... the Elder Seer is expecting us. Worry not, Alphino. Gosetsu and I will watch over her. You may safely attend your meeting. My thanks, Yugiri. The council reconvened a short while ago. Let us make haste for the Lotus Stand. All there are eager to hear your testimony. Yeah, I'm almost tempted to do the Omega raids when I get there, just to get the rest of that story. But I don't know that I'm that. Like, I already kind of had planned not to do it, just because it's not really main. I mean, it's tangentially connected to the main story, but to me, like, something like the Binding Coils, I thought was much more, I don't know, connected or, worth doing. The Elder Seer awaits you within. And then I'll be so close to Shadowbringers at that point that I'll just be like, no, I gotta keep going, get to Shadowbringers. Another calamity averted, huh? How many times now have you and yours hauled us back from the brink? 'Twould seem Garland's little friend was as good as his word. Had I not instructed you to throw Nidhogg's accursed eyes into the abyss, all of this might have been avoided. I thought them beyond reach. It makes me wonder, like, I was thinking of this earlier, like, every time the leaders get together, Kane Senna seems to be, like, kind of the mouthpiece of them. I don't know if she's like the de facto leader of them or what. My friends, full eagerly have we awaited your return. Few indeed could have discharged the duty entrusted to you, and most humbly do we thank you for seeing it done. You are too kind, Elder Seer. As I recall, we as good as demanded the right to try, but tell me, how did the battle unfold? We succeeded in waking Omega, aye, but we lost contact with the weapon shortly after it launched. From our position in the control room, we were blind to all that followed. What words could do justice to such a scene? None of my choosing, that much is certain. But I can give you the facts. The cocoon hatched even as Omega arrived, and from its midst rose a great dragon. The pair duly set about each other in the skies over Girabanya. The primal's might defied belief. It seemed the very heavens would be rent asunder by the force of its blows, and it wielded such magics as I have never seen and hope never to see again. The battle raged on, with no end in sight, until both combatants were engulfed in a blinding flash of light. When the radiance faded, I saw the pair fall motionless from the sky, coming to rest somewhere on Alamegan soil. I will not speak for the rest, but to my eye it seemed that each had landed a fatal blow upon the other. While most among us could think only of Bahamut when looking upon the primal's form, the Domans were heard to whisper the name Shinryu. It would appear that the being resembles a creature of Far Eastern legend, and we have found it convenient to refer to it as such. This Shinryu's fate, and indeed that of Omega, is yet unknown. We have, alas, no eyes on the Girabanyan side of the border. Aye, which is why we have sent our main force under the command of Marshal Terrapin to capture the wall. With the Imperials in disarray, we have the perfect opportunity to secure Gridania's border and assess the aftermath of the impact. I myself will join the Marshal and his men when the council is adjourned. Well, that explains a few things. I'll wager that flash of light coincided with our loss of contact. Lest you wonder, we quickly re-engaged Omega's stasis systems, so even if it has fallen into the Empire's lap, it will be of no use to them, save perhaps as a statue. Correct. Without me to guide their efforts, it would take them decades to decipher Omega's core functions, if they managed it at all. Such reassurances do much to calm our fears, yet the relic's fate is but one of several concerns. Indeed, I humbly submit that the time has come for us to make contact with the resistance representatives in Girabanya. Though Ilberd has forced our hand, it would seem only logical to seek an alliance, given the inevitability of Imperial retaliation. And by working in concert, it is not impossible that Alamigo might finally be wrested from Garlemald's grasp. Yeah, so sure enough, I mean, for the terrible things that Ilberd did, I mean, his goal was reached, I guess, and it did set about on us freeing Girabanya. Okay. When the primal emerged, I was for an instant transported back to Cartno, to the moment the Black Worm made an eighth hell of the battlefield. Gladly would I live out the rest of my days without seeing such a sight again. I go to oversee operations at Belsar's Wall. You have done your part. Leave us to handle the initial Imperial reprisal, and rest while you may. Pray accept my humblest and most earnest thanks once again, Warrior of Light. Had Shinryu been suffered to roam free, the Twelve's Wood would surely have been laid waste. This operation to take the wall will be Ishgard's first military action under Alliance banners. Though I have no appetite for bloodshed, a part of me is glad of the chance to begin reparations for our past inaction. If, as seems likely, we put Omega into stasis after... what did they call it? Ah, yes, after Shinryu was defeated, we should have little to fear from either one of them. That's all just assumptions that Shinryu was defeated. And that, you know, Omega was actually put into stasis. I should very much like to see this Shinryu creature for myself. I mean, you lose contact with it and then just assume, yeah, we hit the button and like that signal is going to get through. You must be exhausted. I would ordinarily suggest that we retire directly to the Rising Stones, but I wonder if we might first make a small detour. Your Stola and the others have gathered at uh, Amarisso's spire, and I imagine that you too would be interested to see what has become of the wall now the cocoon is gone. It is decided then. Lead on. All right. Well, I guess the fastest way there would actually just be straight to Hawthorne Hut. And now on to the great reveal. Only the curs of Garlemald would sully such beauty with that black iron monstrosity. Those animals respect nothing and no one. Yida is there atop the spire. She has done naught but gaze silently at the wall for some time now. No trace of the cocoon remains. 'Tis as if it never existed. Ah, thank the 12. After witnessing Omega's single-minded onslaught, I had visions of you being trapped between it and its target. Hardly the most rational concern, I concede. But if you had seen what I saw...
My friends, I cannot well express how glad I am to see you both unharmed. They say that Omega's clash with the Primal shook the very firmament.
You need not have worried. The battle took place far above the ground. We were able to observe in relative safety, though I'm given to understand that there were casualties on the far side of the wall.
It was like watching a nightmare unfold before our very eyes. Ilbird's primal manifested in the form of a colossal dragon, a being of pure violence. It burst forth from the cocoon with such terrible force.
That such a horror should spring from the eyes of Nidhogg comes as no surprise. Nor do I wonder at its form. Ilberd all but announced it in the moments prior to his death. Plainly, it was his dying wish to visit a second calamity upon the Empire.
And I am quite certain the abomination would have obliged had it not found itself outmatched by Omega. Gods! I am no stranger to the works of Allag, but even I was unprepared for the machine's furiosity. It beggared belief.
And how fares poor Ida in the midst of all this? Have you spoken with her?
She is up on the platform, lost in thought. We deemed it best not to disturb her, but mayhaps she would welcome some company after all. Shall we?
The light's gone. It was all we had left of him.
Ida.
I don't blame anyone. I knew what was going to happen. I knew the spell Papalimo meant to cast would drain away his life force. knew that it would only buy us a little time.
Ida, there is no need to explain.
But there is. I can't hide in Papalimo's little shadow anymore, and I shouldn't hide behind my sister's mask. 20 years ago, on the day the Empire marched into Alamigo, I was still just a child, not even 5 summers old. My father had been one of the leaders of the revolution. He had fought to overthrow the Mad King, Theodoric. And my sister had fought alongside him. But she was strong and kind, and always knew what to do. But when the Garleans came, everything changed. My father went to war against them too, and I never saw him again. After that, I remember a lot of running. My sister dragged me for malms and malms until we came to the city of Charlian. That was where she met Master Louis Soir. He introduced her to the Circle of Knowing, and she eventually became an Archon.
She was your inspiration. Is that not why you took up her mask and her name? Or did you simply mean to continue what she had started?
You've known all along, haven't you? That I wasn't Ida.
Of course. We all recognized you at once. 'Twas Papalimo who persuaded us to maintain the charade.
It was silly to think I could fool you. I knew that even then, but I sort of decided not to know. Ida died 6 years ago, on a mission to smuggle refugees out of Alamigo. They say she was overwhelmed by Imperial soldiers when she stayed behind to save a little girl. She was so strong. There must have been a lot of them.
What will you say? Why did you never tell me?
I'm sorry for lying to you. My real name is Lise. When Papalimo brought me Ida's mask, it was meant as a keepsake, but I decided I wanted to be his new partner, to keep alive all the good that she had done. I didn't want to become Ida, exactly. At the time, though, I still didn't know who I was myself, and it almost seemed easier to play the role. Papalimo agreed to help, of course, but it was never what he wanted for me. He wanted me to walk my own path, and those were his final words to me. The Archon's mark he gave me is faded, and my last excuse along with it. So this is it. Whatever I choose to do from now on, I do as Lise. And I choose to continue my family's fight. I want Alamigo to be the country that Ida and my father always wanted it to be.
So that mark was basically like a fake mark put on by Papalimo to help with her charade or whatever. Charade.
War is upon us once more.
Do you regret standing against the Empire? Would you have chosen a different road, knowing what you know now?
claim that I never doubted the decision would be a lie. But I made my choice, and I have defended it with blade in hand ever since.
The battle continues, and our steel is needed. Come, Shadow Walker, we leave for the east, for Doma.
I was just thinking, I kind of regret asking Lise why, she didn't tell me, because she didn't tell anybody, So obviously, like, that was just an attractive choice. Certainly over just saying nothing. Typically, I don't. I mean, I've done it a few times, but I mean, in the end, like the response was going to be exactly the same, but a little bit of role play. But yeah, anyway, it was brave of Lise to remove her mask after so long. Though she has scarce begun to come to terms with Papalymo's loss, that one act made plain her determination to move forward. And should she ever falter, we shall be there to support her on this road. On this road she has resolved to walk. Let us return to the Rising Stones. We have quite a story to tell Tataru and my sister. This sounds like credits. Wow, okay, I was not expecting to get right into the credits. I was expecting to go back to the Rising Stones. All right, so I suppose I'll give some of my impressions. Like, I think the last time, for the 3.0, I had said that that the story was just so good. And I would have to say that as good as 3.0 was, the patches were even better. I mean, it was the same thing, I think, with A Realm Reborn. To me, the patch content was a lot better. I've still, been keeping up, looking at, like, Reddit and other stuff, and people still complain about the patch content being like a slog for A Realm Reborn, which I just don't agree with. I think the story just got so much better. The pacing got better. Again, they increased the amount of voice cutscenes and everything like that, and I think the pattern was repeated this time around. Like, as far as the story goes, because I think particularly recently, what was it? It was the cutscene with the what wasn't it, the reveal of or the re-emergence or whatever of Nidhogg, when like Estinian Nidhogg came down and attacked Vidofnir and all that whole scene, particular, I think it was this one right here between Thancred and Emmanueline that was just phenomenal. And then again, with what we saw last night with the Warriors of Darkness and Minfilia as the Word of the Mother and everything were just such good scenes that, yeah, I can't help but say that the patch content was even better than than I guess the expansion, or whatever you want to call it, the 3.0. I mean, at least as far as for like moments that really resonated. I think obviously the base expansion, I mean, was obviously the base of the whole storyline that all the other stuff was built upon. But yeah, this story was just so good. It just, and I mean, the patch content, if nothing else, was just made me like look forward to Stormblood and Shadowbringers that much more. Yeah, I really look forward to getting into Stormblood, which I think, yeah, we've got the time for tonight. I didn't know how long all of this, the rest of Heavensward would take, so I wasn't sure if I would get into Stormblood, but I think we definitely will. We'll definitely have at least 2 hours to get into that. One thing I wanted to touch on, now with the reveal of Gita being Lys, and something I'm looking forward to getting into with Stormblood is I still see criticisms about Lys. I mean, just earlier today or last night or something, I saw something on Reddit, where somebody was complaining about Lys. And I don't remember ever having an issue with her. Now, again, like, I think I'm on the side of players that just generally just takes in everything and just enjoys it for what it is. I definitely nitpick like television shows and movies that I watch. But for whatever reason, games, I don't tend to do that as much. I just tend to take them in for what they are. But I am curious now to go back through and see, the characterization and growth of the character of Lys, and see if if my opinion changes at all or whatever. Because from what I can recall, the complaints of her is, well, like, she has, like, I think, like, almost instantaneous character growth, and I don't even know, like, part of me wants to say, like, her actual character strength is oddly fast or something, and then, like, I don't know, something to do with her leadership, and maybe something to do with whininess or uselessness, or I don't even recall, because it just didn't, like, what I read just didn't resonate with me. So, but I'll just take note of her character as I'm going through to see if I have any new or rememberings, of her. But yeah, I really look forward to getting into Stormblood. And like I've mentioned before, I went through Stormblood, I think played until 4.1 came out, I want to say, did the story for that, and then just stopped playing. And it wasn't anything from the game itself. It was the last time I really put any effort into, like, Savage raiding. And we were doing, the first tier or whatever. And a friend of mine had said he joined a group and they needed a healer. And I was just playing Red Mage at the time, because that's what I played through the story. And I guess just to be able to play with him, I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'll level a healer real quick and join them. And so I leveled an Astrologian, because at the time that was... I had played quite a bit of Astrologian in Heavensward, and that was just the one that resonated the most with me, so I leveled that one up and started doing the content. And I think we had cleared all of Tier 1, and Shinryu Extreme had come out, and we were working on that. And I think I just got frustrated. I think between maybe my own limitations of just struggling in the fight, and then the fact that I didn't really want to play a healer. I wanted to play Red Mage. And so the combination of that just wore on me, and I got it just burnt out or whatever. So, I mean, I ended up taking... Again, I think this was the longest break I had taken from the game, and was kind of, I don't know what you call it, disenfranchised enough or whatever, that I was kind of convinced at the time that I wasn't going to be coming back to the game. And that, I think, is when I last played WoW. Because that was, you know, toward the end of Legion and then going into Battle for Azeroth. But eventually, like, all it took was them announcing that they were bringing Blue Mage to the game, which was, I thoroughly enjoyed playing in 11. That was enough to bring me back to 14, which I'm so glad for, because when I did come back, I guess 4.2 through 4.5 or whatever, whenever Blue Mage had come out, whatever patch that was, I played through all of that story all at once and was like, oh man, like, I was so glad to be back in the game from what I remember because of the story. I was just enjoying the story so much. And obviously just, you know, the difference in storytelling between Final Fantasy and WoW is night and day. And I've always really liked the story of WoW, but you didn't really get it in game. And I'd never read any of the books or whatever, so I had to rely on like secondhand knowledge for that type of stuff. Whereas Final Fantasy, you got it all in here. I know there are some little side stories and stuff like that outside of the game, but they're not, they're side stories or whatever. They're nice little extra character work or whatever that isn't necessary. So anyway, all of this was just to say that Stormblood is very kind of disjointed in my mind. And it'll be nice to just start it and go all the way through it all at once. Although I'll admit, I mean, there's going to be like I don't know what you want to call it, an anxiety or an excitement or whatever it is to like get back into Shadowbringers, because I love that expansion so much. It blew me away. So, but I'm certainly not going to rush through Stormblood. It's going to, you know, I'm going to go through it at the same pace that I've gone through A Realm Reborn and Heavensward. But, yeah, like I was saying earlier, I mean, part of me wants to do Omega just because I'm interested in going back through it, but just with that being max level content and everything like that, I don't know how long it would take to get through all of it with, I mean, I guess probably not that much longer than, I just get, because I'll have to actually queue up for it. There's no way I can solo it. And it'll be interesting. I'm gonna have to figure out. I'm gonna have to remember this weekend to spend some time to kind of test out some of the Stormblood content and see at what point I'll have to stop soloing. I know that, or I just read something on Reddit where it was about New Game Plus, and just somebody in it had mentioned that they're like on their 5th playthrough of New Game Plus, and they were saying that about halfway through Stormblood is when you know, you have to actually start grouping for things again. But is that halfway through the base expansion, or is that just halfway through all the content? Which would, you know, basically say you can get through the base expansion, but after that you have to party up. I don't know. So just this weekend I'll have to test that out, because I don't know that I'll actually get into any group content, because from what I remember, the first dungeon is I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's during your trip from Garabanya to Doma or Authard or whatever. And I imagine we'll have about 2 hours of story content in Stormblood. And I don't know if we'll get to that in that 2 hours, but so it may not be something I'll have to deal with just yet, but I'll get that figured out. So because I just, like, I don't want to waste time like struggling again, you know, to solo a dungeon or something like that, versus just getting into a group and burning through it, presumably burning through it. I don't know how much more there is to the credits now, but I think I've kind of said everything that I have to say. So, and I'm sure there's going to be like another post-credits cutscene. Or not. Oh, okay, but there is more to this. Oh, and people are back here. Did you know about Lise? I had no idea. We only met after the calamity, and her sister must already have been, well, you know. Things are heating up in All Amigo, but we can't afford to lose track of the trouble what might be brewing in the rest of the realm. Don't you worry, though. I'll be keeping an ear to the ground, me nose in the air, and one eye on the horizon. Ooh. Back in the Far East, we treat back pain with a long soak in a hot spring. What say you to a short journey, Isildur? I am told the waters at Camp Bronze Lake are famous for their healing properties. At last I was able to rise from my sickbed, but the pain when I tried to take up my axe. Ugh, what a sad old man I have become. Okay, I'll hit them up last. Lady Flamant, I sent her outside to enjoy a quiet cup of tea. Much has happened these past moons, and we all can use a rest every now and again. Though it might be simpler to surrender to despair, I have chosen to resume my studies in the arcane. I received much wisdom from Papalimo, and I would put his advice into practice. My sister has the most curious ideas about courtship. A fine showing, brother, but you have yet to outpace Aenor. Should the Archons be called away to Garabanya, it will fall to us to deal with the Scion's usual obligations, and thus We must remain in peak condition. I made a fool of myself on our last mission, but I will show him what I'm made of. Come on, Hori. Is that the best you've got? I think that's everybody. You should have seen the look on Tataru's face when I recounted Lisa's. I realized in retrospect that I should perhaps have waited for you to return. I also told Alize, apologies. I don't know that it's that important that I'm here for it, but he may have mentioned, but Alphino has apprised me of all that came to pass in Gridania. Your only task now is to rest. This is the calm before the storm. Lise has chosen her path, and as her friends, we must do what we can to support that choice. We are fated to join the conflict in any case. Once the Alliance has taken the wall and opened the way to Girabanya, we will have little choice but to fight. Which is not to say the cause is unworthy. After all, ignoring the plight of those whom one might conceivably save is not wisdom, but indolence, correct? I, for one, look forward to joining hands with the Alamegans and striking a blow against the tyranny of the Empire, as I rather suspect do you. Hells yes, I look forward to it. Oh, so there is more cutscene. Oh yeah, Belsor's wall. Quick march. The Imperials will soon come to their senses, and we must be ready to face their retribution. It is almost time, Father. Aye, almost. Stand firm, Pippin. I learned to brace myself against the charge of the Bull of Alamigo. No foe will dislodge me. What's on his mind? Very well, Ilberd. I will take our homeland back. For the both of us. It is an interesting kind of thing that, like, they didn't bother, they didn't even try, and then all it took was Ilberd doing what he did, and it's like, okay, I guess it's time. Oh, and now the introduction to Xenos. Because we haven't seen anything of him yet, have we? Just Varys. My Lord Viceroy, our scouts have confirmed the preliminary reports. Baelsor's wall has fallen to the Eorzean Alliance. The hunt for Omega and the unknown icon continues, though both yet elude us. My lord, their battle caused considerable damage across the region. Should we perchance divert some of our forces from the search to undertake necessary reconstruction work? It's just completely disinterested in all of this. Forgive me, my lord. I did not intend... Your will be done. I will say a lot of people are not a big fan of Xenos because of kind of how one note he is. But I think he's kind of interesting in that regard. You know, he's just got one thing on his mind, and that's the only thing that matters. Unknown? My spies tell me the Domans call it Shinryu, and that it proved a match for Omega. Yes, the coming days promise to be most interesting. Most interesting. I mean, he's not one of my favorite characters or anything, but I don't hate him either. At the far edge of fate, the road begins anew. The heroes look to eastern skies and behold their crimson hue. A dawn of liberation, a gathering storm of blood. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the end of Heavensward. Thank you all for watching. Tonight's stream went really well. We finished Heavensward and got a little ways into Stormblood. We actually managed to clear Raubon Extreme. So if you want to join the fun, the link to my Twitch is in the description down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for watching, and have a good one.